have my lovely friend Kat here today, and we're having an awesome conversation. So we thought we'd film some of it for you in my little RV here. So we decided to have a conversation about infinite life because it's something that over the past, especially the last 2 weeks, we've been talking about. Um, uh, a lot of dimensions, a lot of uh, timelines, a lot of that stuff. So we just kind of wanted to share kind of our opinion about the whole circumstances of our timelines this year, and especially yours. So welcome, Kat, to the show.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be with you, all you guys watching too.
Yeah, so we just have to make sure we talk loud so nobody
Mm-hmm.
complains that you can't hear us all. But I wanted to share finally, we haven't really talked, I haven't talked about it much this year, but I have mentioned it and I've done a couple of videos asking for prayers and meditations. So this is Kat of Kat and Cash and Baby Solace. So we're here to share the story with you and our opinion about, yeah, just everything. So go on.
Okay.
Introduce yourself. You got the floor,
Yeah.
girl.
All right. Well, my name is Kat, and yeah, not long ago, well, I guess it's getting on about a year and a half. Um, I connected with Cash, and we were pretty much like married,
Yeah.
not in the government sense, from
Yeah.
about day one. And yeah, we just saw this like whole life together, like almost instantly. And for one of the first times in my life, it was like very just like completely automatic. There was no sort of doubt around the circumstance or the doubt about progressing forward. It just like this huge energy just kind of pulled us along. And um yeah, we knew that we were going to conceive a baby, and we didn't have any, because that doubt was all gone, and that whole like all the wisdom that you hear from people, like, you should take your time and go slow and all that. We just, for some reason, none of it applied, and we just, before we knew it, 3 months after like living together, yeah, we were pregnant with a very special boy that changed our lives forever. And he came and went in 94 days of being on Earth outside the womb, and he left us with so many lessons and so many blessings and an undoubtable faith and unshakable faith in, the spiritual energy that guides us and connects everything, and can manifest in anything. And he was a master from another level, and he came here to show us some very like intense things. And I never in a million years imagined how I could be intact, or how I could, go on like after losing, my son, which, our son, he was so
So
precious
I'm
to
going
us.
to share the story a little bit
Mhm.
in layman's terms.
Mhm.
So people who don't know you or the story, we
Mhm.
can fill them in. So, well, I'll just do it as my reporter self. So I was blessed enough to be present at the birth of Kat and Cash's baby. And that all happened for me quite magically because the first time I'm getting a download. My ears are ringing right now. So this is good. The first time I met Cash, I'd known Kat the week before. I met her the week before, and we were just like, "Hey, I know you. I know, we're soul sisters." And then we had a freedom rally party or something in the park on June 12th, and there was Cash and Kat walking across the bridge, but I felt them from a long ways away. I could feel this energy. But the interesting thing is, this is the first time in my life that I actually have seen somebody's baby before the baby was born. And I saw this golden orb walking to me like crazy hair, and just I couldn't picture the face, but I just saw this baby running, or child running towards me in this another dimension. And it was just the energy coming from this couple. I was like, wow, those are soulmates. Those people love each other. wow, that energy is so. And when I met you, I already knew that she had a self love and self worth. So when you meet somebody else at that time in your life, your self love and your self worth, and being so grounded and knowing who you are, I think that's how magic it was that you just was like two magnets, soulmates, right? So knowing that it's soulmates, and I had that vision of the baby, it was kind of magical because he was born on June 10th, which was the solar eclipse. And there's a lot of people from around the world that were tuning into the pregnancy that really didn't know you and didn't know the story and were praying and manifesting, these timelines, or could see the baby as some sort of like galactic, futuristic baby coming forth, right? So, anyways, those I kept telling you that, and this has nothing to do with what I'm being right. This is zero ego, but it was about, I'm like, this baby's from the future. He's here to teach us something, and I don't know what it is. He's a special baby, and the birth was like the most magical thing I've ever been a part of. It was like she had birthed 1,000 babies before, and you just knew what to do, and it was just so on point, and it was at home and the way you wanted the birth, like, he had a lot of cord time and everything, and there was a lot of spirit. It was the most spiritual birth that I've ever been witness to. So I could feel Cash's mom kind of popping her head in the room, and so he already had a big support system of spirit there when he this timeline was created, and he was born at 11:14, and it was just such a magical day. But the one thing is, I know a lot of people, when they heard of his physical body, instantly went to the sad vibrations of, oh, this poor baby was born with a cleft palate and a congenital heart problem. And, like, people just went right to the physical being of what's going to happen and the fear vibrations and da da da. But we always believed, and this is, I believe, why we were called together to help create, is because we always believed in the timeline that we choose our parents. And that's a really important message that we want to get on with today. Why people are chosen to be certain parents. And so this is what we've been talking about a lot of, instead of going to the victim part of it, it's more like, why do I feel so special to get this honor and this privilege of having this beautiful little baby? The one thing I want to say is when he was born, he was coming out crying, not like a big cry, but it was like, ah, here I am. And he was, but then it went right from like, okay, I made my noise now, so y'all know I'm alive, to just gazing. And the gaze is why I think that's all part of his journey, is the communication of looking. So I want you to share some of the stories about his energy after he was born. So, and how that affected so many people, because that's what this is all about.
Yeah, well, I mean, before even like going into the physical part and like after he was born, he had made some connections with other people in my life that had a lot of spiritual perception, and he those messages, those kind of like those insights, those downloads came. I know that my partner had some, and I certainly had dreamt about him before he was born, and I saw this golden hair, and I didn't understand, because we're neither of us have that color of hair, and Cash is Jamaican, and so he didn't appear as we had expected necessarily, and but he was visiting all these spiritual people, and like I just got the message from not just only Raven who knew, but other people, it's like, no, this is a golden child. This
Mhm.
child has like a power that we're not necessarily used to seeing so directly. And that was very clear to me from the beginning too, like even before he was born, but after that too. And everything honestly happened so fast. I mean, I was myself being a herbalist and having trauma around the medical system and not wanting to be in that sort of scenario for such a sacred moment. Like you know, I could, I had to birth him at home, even without the oversight of the medical system. And it was scary to do because, it's not something women usually do. But it was, I,
Not for a first birth.
I felt so
Yeah.
guided in a strange way where it's like, oh my God, nothing is really happening easily. This I guess this is the way it's meant to be, and I just have to completely face my fear about it, and then, you know, and trust in the process.
Mhm.
And I always, my best sort of understanding of how to give birth without like freaking out, and then causing more physical problems was just to completely like go like totally into this yin, into this feminine energy, and just like let something move through me. This is
Mhm.
not me. This is not, I can assist, but I'm like, so the whole between contractions, I was basically just praying to like any, you know, goddess of wisdom, any mother,
Mhm.
all of these archetypes. I was just, you know, I prayed to them, and yeah, like that's really what carried me through. And
Mhm.
the last thing in the universe I ever wanted or expected was to ever end up in the hospital with my son, and that was it happened so fast. I mean, post birth, like
Mhm.
because you've been just like totally like opened up, it's like I was not coherent. I mean, I was coherent, but I was not. I was completely receptive to like every single thing that was happening around me. And so at first I was so overjoyed with the birth of my son, and even though I only knew about his cleft palate, that happiness like carried me through that difficult situation. And
Mhm.
it was within a few days that he was presenting his breathing fast and shallow, and they started to do, scans on him to see what was going on. And it was, yeah, it was very, very challenging. And
Mhm.
this profound, it was his presence and the power of his look and like how in love we both were with him,
Mhm.
and his his peace, his receptiveness, that made that like soften the blow of feeling like, oh my God, like my like what's happening? What is
Mhm.
happening? It was like this, I just felt completely pulled through the entire thing. Like I felt completely like an instrument of creation, and not I had none of those hang-ups that parents sometimes have, just of like feeling that they own their child or everything they do. And it's like even people would try to start the conversation with me like, oh well, did you do this while you were pregnant? Did you take
Mhm.
folate? Did
Mhm.
you, and I was just like, I a, an old version of me would be angry at you for even asking, but I'm so like not even there. I just don't even care, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
don't even care. So it was, yeah, it was like a lot. It was like a waterfall of things. Just like I just get this deluge image of like so much
Mhm.
happening, and there's nothing you can do but just let it all like pass
Yeah.
through. And like I feel that he tested on such a huge level just our ability to like really go with the flow.
Mhm.
And yeah, like I feel it's a perfect prelude to what is going on and what is going to happen and what's going to continue to speed up as,
Mhm.
planetarily speaking, we go through all these changes, and people's foundations of what they've rested their lives on disintegrate.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're coming up on the time where, I know it's already happened for some people, but like where the movie set that's been everyone's lives is literally going to collapse. And then
Yeah.
there's going to be this bareness, and people are going to go, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I felt like this whole situation was like so beyond me that I'm well practiced in that now.
Yeah.
And on the reason, again, I go back to the fact that I'm relatively intact after losing my son is because he left us with all of this power,
It
and
is, yeah.
he left us with this knowing, like, this something that's so much greater than what can be explained in
Yeah.
words or what can be logically understood,
Hmm.
and
The gaze is so important to have an understanding, because I think the timeline that he opened up for me personally was, I've never seen a baby communicate on a level that was, to me, I always say, like, he was like holding a little Benjamin Buttons. I see you. I see you. I know you. I know why you're here. And it was like, I don't know, like, I don't know how to say it, but other than earth shattering, how different that made me feel spiritually is that he was telling me we are all one, and the past, the present, and the future. If you really believe that, Auntie, if you really believe that, we all are here in the same timeline at all times. So our physical body is, he goes, I had to show everybody. I had to show my mom and my dad and the hospital and everybody in the hospital that I could shapeshift. I could come and go. I could go visit my sick grandpa in the same hospital. I could go do things that were very on a higher level, from another dimension that a lot of people can't even grasp. So he affected change, I know, between a lot of you, even when I shared any of the story of Solace or asking you to manifest a higher timeline. So, what we have been talking about in the last bit is, if we truly believe in this matrix and the matrix of what they want us to believe, like, what's the worst thing in the world a person can go through? Parents losing their child. There's no other words for it. There's no way to explain it. There's people are like, why me, God? Instead of looking at it in gratitude. Thank you for choosing me to be strong enough to tell the story. So, this is one of the reasons why I think it's been so important for Solace's timeline to be shared, is that it's only been 2.5 months since he passed, but time isn't linear. We look at time as a very spiral thing, and the collapse of the timelines. So here's one of the things that we were talking about, is the ability to manifest again new timelines. Because if we really truly believe in the co-creation of our thoughts and us being all one, and then in our 3D life, we always knew, oh, your grandpa came back into so in Billy's body or whatever. Hey, that was grandpa. Well, if you're an ultimate master of your soul in your soul contract, like I believe Solace was, then he is here teaching us how to master that as well through our soul contracts, to detach from the physical form. It doesn't matter what we look like. It matters the lessons that we leave upon others and how we communicate that lesson. And when we come back, it's like, I don't know, he's always telling me, it's okay, Auntie, everything's going to be okay. We're in that space of knowing. And I think that the spiritual transformation that he gave even people in the hospital, like when you're in Edmonton and stuff, and one of the doctors, like, he keeps staring at me, like,
a lot of doctors,
yeah,
a lot of nurses.
Yeah, why is he staring? And he was the most chilled out baby for having a heart condition. So there's a lot of things that he was teaching people. And I believe that's why Solace asked you to be his parents, is because he knew a long time ago, while you were in your mother's womb, like we were talking about, that this timeline needed to be told to help humanity cross over the boundary of the 3D to the 10th dimensional being,
Mhm.
where we can create these new timelines in our infinite self. So if we all manifested, oh, okay, well, because I believe in the avatar of it all,
Mhm.
that we create our matrices, and the matrix that we've been living in is the ones that the dark side created for us. So if we free ourselves from those matrix and have unadulterated, unconditional love for a certain manifestation, whether it's a co-creation of a community, whether it's healing med beds, whether it's anything, or a child coming back in another physical form. If we believe in that manifestation, I think we would be able to create another version of Solace's soul in his soul contract. So maybe that's what he's telling us, is that he can show us how to manifest. Some of the things I want to talk about that are super important. He was born at 11:14. He passed away at 11:44. And he lived exactly 3 months, 2 days, 12 hours, and 30 minutes. So it's 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. And I think about that time, and even in his seconds, I think it's 8,000,001,666 and then 40 seconds old. So he has a lot of rebirth numbers even
Yeah.
in that.
And he, throughout his life, like, he spoke in codes and numbers all
Yeah.
the time. And, one of the spiritual people that, shared some insight on him, they talk about him being a time bender. And I definitely knew that he had some power with time. There was always a synchronicity. There was always, even his hospital number was 1044. um, you know, ones and fours were all over the
Everywhere.
place with him. When I would be rushing back to the hospital to see him, it would say 1144, 114, and those numbers were always present. And one of the most like powerful signs that he's left that was very very obvious was about 10 days after he passed. We were hiking in the mountains in Kananaskis, and our friend was with us and took a panorama of the mountainside. And in that panoramic image, there was all of these orbs in a perfect line on the mountain, and they were all on the same horizontal line. And there was one, and then there was 1, 2, 3, 4, and
Mm-hmm.
that exact like turquoise color of orb appeared a bunch. Like, he manifested himself in rainbows, and there we have a lot of photos, like when I'm laying like offerings on his body before his cremation. Like, I'm surrounded in a rainbow when we're going to spread his ashes. He's my partner's surrounded. You can see a rainbow that all over his black jacket. Like, the night before he passed, a rainbow manifested in the north when he was on like the northwest side of the hospital. And the nurse said to me, just like, she's like, when rainbows happen, they never happen there. That's so amazing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he just Solace, he really made me understand that when your energy is big enough, you truly connect to anything and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so, another thing that he appeared at often was as a hawk. And again, about 10 days after, maybe 2 weeks after he passed, I was led in my house, by my house near downtown Calgary, to an exact tree where there was a juvenile hawk down that had left the body. So we, were able to take this, some of the feathers from this hawk, and I knew it was him. He was leaving us gifts everywhere. He he was a shapeshifter. Even many people commented, and I know Ravens talked about this. There was so many images taken of him, but he looked so different in so many images. He was very,
Yeah.
very light skinned, even though he was 1/4 African descent, Jamaican descent. And but sometimes he would get that really curly hair, and other times his hair would just, like, his hair was a shimmery golden um, color. And sometimes he would look like me. Sometimes he looked very native. He
Yeah.
was he was very connected to a native lineage. He just had so many looks. He had it was kind of like meeting a new person every time. So he just kept constantly evolving
That is true.
as you know, in his, and it was like he lived an entire life with all kinds of adventure and challenge and heartfelt moments and everything was so compacted and accelerated. And you know, it was all during this time of like everyone's, you know, up in arms about COVID, whether you people who think it's real or people who think it's a hoax. It was just sucking so much energy from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was just went into this space for a long time where none of that mattered. None
Mm-hmm.
of it. We were above all of that stuff.
Okay, 14.
We were above all of we were above all of those things, and I got to see from the inside, spending 94 days in the hospital system in Alberta. I never even heard of a case of COVID with anything with the babies or children, and it was as if COVID existed outside, but in the hospital, it was like not even a thing. It's like people knew, but I just felt this sense of like there. It had a very prison-like feeling, and it
Mm-hmm.
felt like a lot of the staff was under that imprisonment. And I
Mm-hmm.
developed this understanding and this sense of compassion as well for the medical people, because like in reality, a lot of them are well-meaning people, and you know, it's so challenging because if they haven't claimed a higher level of sovereignty, the coercion that's automatic that
Mm-hmm.
gets that sweeps you when you're in that system is so it's such a huge wave. It's so powerful in some ways, and it's like I know that Solace was piercing that veil constantly because
Mm-hmm.
even the most programmed like type A doctors and da 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 like eventually they would crack in some way
Mm-hmm.
around him.
Yeah.
And they are so these people are extremely educated. They are beyond educated. Like and you know, we spent a long time in ICU, and intensivists are pediatricians who are they're double specialists. They're not used to being less smart than anyone. And I know, and I was beyond challenging people for the sake of anything other than
Mm-hmm.
for my son. Like I
Yeah.
did not care. I was so beyond all of that stuff, but I could just see that they could not answer certain basic questions, and I actually felt for them. I actually, to this day, I just, you know, I can't get on the bandwagon of sending hate to really anyone
Mm-hmm.
because, like, everyone's playing their role in this whole thing. And
Yeah.
Solace, he never discriminated. He would stare and connect with anyone.
Yeah. Anyone. It was
Anyone.
so. He was. I don't know. I can't even.
Respiratory therapists,
Yeah.
doctors,
Like
nurses,
just.
me. Even this one lady, I remember she was this beautiful little lady. She was a short lady who was from um, Cameroon, was it? She was from West Africa somewhere. And anyway, she was a dark black lady, and I remember her asking me. She's like, "Has your son ever seen a black person before?" She's like, he's just staring at me. I'm like, "Oh yeah, he's seen a black person before," not knowing my spouse is you know
Yeah.
Jamaican, but
Yeah.
anyway, she was just so moved by this baby who was like not like a baby at all, and so there was just like this infinite wisdom that was always streaming through him.
Humbling.
It was
Humbling.
it humbled the most
Humbled.
arrogant and in denial of systems. Like I
Yeah.
just saw he was this incredible equalizer. He
Mm-hmm.
got, you know, our family more in contact again. Like I've really lost contact with a brother of mine who is a doctor and a specialist,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I it's like I want to be at this space in my life, and Solace for the most part has brought me there. I'm still integrating the lessons and the you know the feelings and everything that happened, which was a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I I feel I want to be beyond that fight and that struggle because like at the end of the day everyone is doing what they can do,
Yeah.
and so we have to let go
We
of
have to let go
we
of
have
people's
to
programs.
let
Yeah.
go, and we have to let go of our force and our expectation and our anger and all this stuff because like really the choice is everybody's, and
It
like
is.
we do not know what someone's soul contract is. And that's why like I was just amazed that my son was like a Christ like figure in that sense of just like he's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
No matter where they're at.
Unconditional love.
Unconditional love.
Communication of a realm that I did not understand or understand until then. He sparked the I am in me even further. And I think that's the most important part of this video is the spiritual soul contract of Solace opened up timelines for Kat and Cash to be at peace with something that in a 3D realm is not, it's not as easily understandable about your role in keeping the vibrations of unadulterated love, unconditional love. So, and in talking with everything that's been going on in the last little bit, you know, of how to maintain your vibrations in high frequency and hold space for those people who are going through that, because you and I and Cash will all attest, like as soon as you start talking about Solace, people's face automatically goes to the sad face. And
a
I'm
lot
like,
of people, yes.
yeah, automatically. And I'm like, no, 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 this is awesome story. Like, you know, I like I'm back in the high vibes. I'm like, don't it he was the best angel that ever happened to me on the planet. And for people who have been following my personal journey since the last year's King video and that went around, um, everybody knows about the sadness I had with Star and losing my best friend, you know, on September 7th, 2019, right before this shenanigans all broke out, and being in such a low vibration and, you know, like, oh, I'm supposed to be just, and then witnessing somebody who got hit by a train right after. I had severe PTSD in a biblical sense before this happened, but as soon as, like, all of this manifested into the timeline of understanding that these timelines of certain people being born and their stories of their soul contracts, like, that's what made me believe even further in the spiritual being disconnected from, and what your spiritual DNA remembers versus what your physical DNA from your family history it remembers, and what we shed off. So the more we can shed off our physical connection to the sadness of the vibrations of, you know, whatever drama story people have attached, you know, like to a death. Death is beautiful. I've been present to just as many deaths, some first, like where they were horrific deaths, like where people got hit by cars and very sudden. And yet there's a transference of energy I don't think people can understand that's the same as birth. And it's this kind of chill where it's not, some people would think it was ghostly, but even in the birth of Solace, there's a little bit of chill in the air because it's the heat of the timeline. So it's like this vacuum and vortices is like, and here you go. So we all feel the rush of the energy of the new timeline being created or going into another dimension. So to me, it is infinite that we caught this glimpse of the 94 days of this life, because to me, he solidified how the energy is transferred and how we see it in other forms. So I had no connection to like going to the service of the cremation and whatever. So I didn't know what went on. I went to his service on Tuesday. It was very beautiful. So he passed on Sunday night, and then I couldn't make it to the city Monday, and then Tuesday I went, and it was just like the most beautiful thing. And I came back home and I was like, wow, I didn't go see my mom after she passed away. That was in 2012. I'm like, I'm good on dead bodies. Like, you know, like I don't want to see people in that form. I never would have thought I would be combing my little nephew's golden hair and singing him songs and, just engaging, reading his totem spread. By the way, he shares more cards with me than any person. I think I was like, that's my card, that's my card, that's in my totem, that's in my totem. I think he had 4 or 5 cards out of 9 that were similar to mine. So I felt very special, and I swore he smiled at me after his physical self left. And people that happened to a friend of ours too. And I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, we have pictures with, orbs and whatnot in the room that are very clear and very, yeah, there was all kinds of magic energy
Magic.
during
So
the
there
time.
they were doing the ceremony on Wednesday, and I think it was the 17th. And the I was sitting in the house, and I took a picture of all these little rainbows lined up on the cupboard. And I sent it to her. I'm like, whatever. I don't know what they're doing. So, I see the magic because at 11:44, the day after, like 12 hours after Bud passed, a hawk flew over, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what time it is. And so I screenshot it was 11:44. And I was like, holy crap, right? That's magical. Hey, how's it going? And so I took a picture on the Wednesday of these. It was like almost 4 perfect little hearts. They were looked like exclamation marks sideways. And I sent it, or I took the picture, and then the EBS went off. Boop! And I was like, and I didn't get alarmed. I was like, I had Bud's little voice in my head, like he often comes in. He's like, see, I told you, Auntie. I had to leave this body so Mom and Dad wouldn't be stuck in the hospital getting the jab, like, or to come and visit me. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, that totally made sense. And then what was happening just as the EBS went off in your realm.
We were in the middle of his ceremony and the EBS went off, and so yeah, there was just a constant theme throughout his life of perfect timing and perfect alignments
Freedom
and
of spirit.
freedom of body, freedom of spirit, and
Yeah.
it, yeah, it's it was just mind blowing the entire thing. Even though we literally were in the belly of the beast,
Yeah.
and not really knowing that I could even psychologically fully survive that, because really at some point I was like, I don't know if I can, like, if my son's not here, like, what am I even doing here? Like, there was thoughts like that came to me, and
Yeah.
there were some low moments, but like, I don't know, something greater just kept pulling and pulling, and it was a lot of like this kind of like a deja vu sort of feeling of like, this is meant to be, this is happening now.
Yeah.
That, before he passed, that number 666 came to me, and I don't see that as an evil number. I see it as a changing of timelines, as an ending and a beginning. And all of those signs flooded in so fast. Everything was fast and without hesitation. And it's just like this feeling of like life where no moment was wasted,
Yeah.
and every moment was like just complete, like the mastery of doing exactly what you were meant to do. And I mean, I've had to forgive myself and go back into like, what if this, what if that. I've done a little bit of that, and but part of like some of the download that gave me peace was this feeling of like, no, this is what is supposed to happen. Like, he knows what he's doing, and he's so fluid. He's so unafraid, and I didn't even really get to see him cry barely at all in life. He was not fussy. He did not present and share suffering. He didn't even, the weird thing is I don't even, in a way, I feel like I was never even a mother, because I'm like, I didn't have this being of great need, even though I was of like complete service. Like, we stopped everything for those 94 days, and we were trying to be with him 24/7.
You guys were there all the time. All the time.
We
Yeah.
were completely with him.
Mm-hmm.
And even though, we were in that position, it's like he never gave me that feeling of like of need or desperation. It was like he was always like giving, like some sort of like little saint, like some sort of.
And any message, anytime I tap in to pray or meditate on him, I'd say, he keeps telling me everything's going to be okay. It's okay, Auntie, everything's going to be okay, in his voice. And I'm like, okay. Like, even though I don't, like, the physical me is attached to the feelings of, you know, empathy. And I cried a lot after, but it was honestly, I realized I was only feeling sorry for myself, missing my bud, you know, missing the pictures every day, missing him watching the little videos if I played him guitar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I truly believe he zips in and out like so frequently, especially when we hang out together. It's like the funniest thing. So, I was playing Scrabble the other day. I have to share this story. And the my score on the crossword was 444. So I screenshot it and send her a picture. Or yeah, no, cuz and then the next game I was playing, the computer made the word solace. Not me, the computer did. And I was like, holy shit. So I like screenshot both of them and I sent it to her. And I'm like, he is just here on the 1 month anniversary. He leaves me a little heart in water on my counter and signs of whatever. We were here sitting in the barn one day and we were just with the door open and a hawk flew overhead and we didn't see it, but Smoky Spice did. And she's like, "Did you know there was a hawk flying over top while you guys were sitting in the barn?" I'm like, "Nope." So it was so like I don't know. It's just that's I believe in the infinite life manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
So he came back from the future when I met Cash to show me his orb, and he never showed me his face,
Mm-hmm.
only his hair. 7 or 8 years old and running like like Cash is very animated, like, and he's the punster of the world. Mr. Inventor Spice. But I could just see this little mini version of his, and I'm like, why is the hair so blonde? You know? And then I think that's what he was showing me. And it just happened to, you were looking for midwives through the Alberta Midwives, and I'm like, well, I try not to have an ego about stuff, but I have helped people deliver babies before. And granted, the last one was like 14 years before this one. Yeah, maybe 14. But, no, 13 years. But you never forget being present. So, and I just felt like, you know, like it was just meant to be. Like he just chose us because of the circumstances. None of us flinched,
Mm-hmm. One of my wise
you know?
friends, she said early on in my pregnancy, like, wow, like your baby just has so much light, and like, yeah, don't worry, like he'll guide you.
Yeah,
And so yeah, this entire time, even though I felt like I was making the most critical decisions,
yeah.
like along with my spouse, like in a way I wasn't. I was just like I was being like just pulled along, and
He was telling you what he wanted. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and it just felt this. It was just an incredible alignment of circumstances, because like
Mm,
never in a million years had I imagined ending up like that. You know,
no.
it was like forcing me into complete surrender
Mm-hmm.
and complete like facing of the fear of death,
Mm-hmm.
fear of just not just his death, but the death of anything and everything, the
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability of our whole situation.
Our whole death of our matrix,
Mhm. Mhm.
taking down the illusion of the fact that we were mortal, you know, and like death is an illusion to me now more than ever. I believe that.
Mhm.
I believe that death is an illusion, and I'm just like, you know, if you really believe, I'm gonna see my mom, I'm gonna see my friend star, and
Mhm.
when they're, you know, like this is just the way it's supposed to be, you know. Um, uh, we are chosen, we choose our soul contracts.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think I really do believe in the avatar of it all.
Mhm.
We have these higher beings of ourselves in our full I am activated power. And maybe Solace was my father in another life, or maybe he was, you know what I mean? Maybe we're all from a certain timeline and coming back. So he's opening the doors of a way deeper spiritual connection just by when he was born
Just
and the timeline, like
just appearing,
appearing.
just by being there, he
Yeah.
showed so many things. And yeah, that dissolved in a sense of limitation because it was just so clear. Just like many babies too, like
Yeah.
they're born and you just know they've lived many, many, many lives and they carry this wisdom. It's just his was absolutely unflinching, and
Yeah.
it was like I, and that's part of my okayness with everything too. Is like, okay, I don't have my baby anymore,
Hmm.
but I got to meet a master. I got to spend 94 days with a master who showed me many truths about life, you know,
Many truths.
many truths about life and like what we're here for and what we're doing. And, and I'm not afraid of death in the same way because I get
No.
to transition to, you know,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying like I want to be here as long as I really need to be here to
Yeah.
serve this
Yeah.
transition.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really like about letting go of that fear of death and knowing like, and I had so many downloads like towards the end of just like and as one of my wise friends said, he was born to show you guys he exists so that you know him.
Yeah.
But he's been there before and he's there now and he's always there. Now you know he's there
Yeah.
beyond a shadow of a doubt.
I get a feeling that, and I've shared this with both of you, he will come back in another form because I do believe that's part of his story. And that's why I have to talk about it now, is because everything he's doing is put in linear form, like a year almost to the date. And I say that when it's 12 and 21, 12, 21. Yeah. So, a year to the date I met Cash pretty much is when he was born. And then a year after when he was conceived, almost to the day,
Mm-hmm.
he passed. And
Mm-hmm.
you're doing the service out there. And it was a year ago that we all went camping. There's 5 of us that ended up camping. And I'm not pointing fingers, but somebody forgot their tent poles. So it turned into those, whoops, this is fun. Like, it was awesome. It was meant to be. It was meant to be the best therapeutic at Raven's Nest. That's what it was called, the campground. Therapeutic camping trip we had. And I think I actually confessed then when you guys were giving me a massage. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw you have a baby and like like your baby being born. I think that's when I first told you about the orb of your child. And I don't know if it was before or after that event, but you had conceived somewhere around that time, and I
It was just before.
just before, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's very interesting to me. So I know it's like he's been a part of my life before I knew he was a part of my life. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I have to bear witness to it. He's like, Auntie, you have to tell people without attachment to it. It's just like this shit's real. Like this is real. So it makes it so much more easier for me
Mm-hmm.
to deal with the other. He kept telling me at the beginning, Auntie, this is nothing. I got people looking after me. His spirit was always fine. His spirit was always
Always.
fine. He had it. He was teaching me how to breathe and to let go and to not be attached to what was his little body was going through. Because no matter what, I was manifesting a higher. But every time I tapped into him, he's like, "Don't worry, Auntie, I'm okay." And I'm like, "Why do you keep telling me this? Like, your little body is not okay." And but he would leave his body, and I believe that when he was in the hospital, he would go help people transition their timelines. This is how easy it is, guys. Kind of like what they learned in not but the lower vibration of Beetlejuice, like the higher vibration. He's showing people like this is how we make feathers appear. This is how we make rainbows appear. This is how we go into these timelines.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of him showing us through alternate physical forms
Mm-hmm.
that he's manifested his true lion fairy name to me, that warrior. Like, there's a picture that they took of him, and he's got like really cool long hair, sideburns down here, and Cash is like, it's one of my favorite pictures looking at him in the background. It's truly an awesome picture. But even when I showed Smokey, she goes, he looks like a fairy in that picture. And I'm like, completely. And even the way the shadow is on his skin, it looks like he has wings on his back. And they're so, like, it's so powerful to me, that picture. And I think he's sleeping in that picture, yeah. But it's such a beautiful picture because he embraced that lion fairy. He was the most strong physical baby for 6 pounds 13 ounces, so 3 kilograms exactly, I think, is what he weighed. He was a life path 3, which is about connection, communication, creation, and keeping people present in the moment. And he did have his own language. He had his own language that I don't think a lot of people, unless like you finally figured out, okay, this guy's talking to me, like talking to me, then you picked it up. And that's what I think is the beautiful part of his story was, because he's gonna manifest into another situation, but we just won't know what it looks like right now. So, and I want to share. Can we share your book?
Sure, yeah.
So her brother started this little book for Solace, and we're working to make it a little bit bigger, and it's all about his life. So I'll let you. It's really cute. So yeah, super cute. It's a really really good story. So we're gonna increase on the story and put it into production. Isn't it cute? Aw. So I know you guys who loved my other friend's book, The Sapling, Jesse Clausen, will love this book too, because I think it's going to be the most healing, beautiful book in the whole wide world. So, Kat's, there's little Solace, there's little Bud Bud. Isn't he beautiful? Look at that hair. Woo! He's so cute. So cute, right? So adorable. Just love him. Anyways, so all the proceeds from the book after it's published.
Yeah, after we print off copies and sell it, I don't know under how it was published, but 100% of the proceeds we want to put towards something for children, some sort of cool initiative that's about freedom and sovereignty and beauty and
humanitarian
art,
and
all of
being
it.
helpful.
All of it will go towards children. Yeah. So,
which I think is perfect. So I'm super
far
grateful.
We've raised, I think, about $500 towards the printing of the first printing, and then we'll, we just want to share that story so people don't have to be so afraid of death, and they know that their lives are infinite.
Infinite, exactly, and loving, and we are love. And I think that's one of the best ways we can sort of finish off this video is saying an I am confirmation, like I am love, I am light, I am prosperous, I am you, you are me, we are all one, we are connected through our heart space and love, through many dimensions, times, and universe. And nothing can stop the beauty that is coming. That's what he keeps telling me. Auntie, there are kids who have had it way worse than me. And we've all experienced these different shells. We've all experienced these different meat suits. So it's time to shed off the programs, what keeps us sad in these meat suits, or keeps us connected to these negative timelines. Like if you're still talking about CV, you're still in a negative vibration. So he wants us to focus more together on coming together in unconditional love for one another and being supportive no matter who you are, what you look like, where you've been, what your story, what your decision was. Because he wants you to know that was your soul contract to help bring humanity together in a very, very, very loving way. So that's what this book is all about, is just sharing the beauty of Little Lion Fairy. We want all the little kids to understand that we are all connected. We are all reborn or brought here for purpose and intent, and to raise the vibrations of the collective consciousness. And that's what Solace Gabriel's little story was all about.
For sure.
He was magnificently the most magical little lion fairy that could have come into my life. I look at him like a fourth son. I'm like, and I know Kat doesn't take that as an egotistical thing. She knows that she gave birth to an earth child, an earthbound child with a galactic spirit. So, and galactic purpose. So I'm like, how do we know it's not another being that we already know that manifested in his body and then took off? Or like, because time is so spiraling.
Yeah,
It's spiraling, and tapping into our own powerful I am vibrations and knowing why we're here and to deliver this message, because I'm a mother, you're a mother, we're earth mothers, and earthly human being positive vibrations are the one thing that is going to heal this world. And so we must manifest that love.
For sure.
And try and shed off some of the sadness. Look at the beauty of it all.
The fear,
the fear, yeah.
Yeah, like you.
The fear of who's gonna die, who's gonna live, who's gonna get through it, who's jabbed, who's this, who's that. Let it go.
Let it all go.
Let it go.
Just be at peace, trusting the path.
Yeah.
And death is not the end anyway, so we need to just keep rising. And
yeah,
he taught us a lot about rising, and and that's what we hope to spread. And if you do feel like making a donation towards the first printing of this book, we'll leave a PayPal address or something like that. But yeah, you'll get a copy, and whatever proceeds we make, like, we'll try to make something magical for kids, give back to the children. So, this war that we've been in, it does ultimately go back to the children.
Yeah.
And
it is about the children. That's what he's telling us. It's about the children and creating a better space for everybody in love. Just love. If it's not from love or above, it's not gonna last.
And really, this whole paradise on earth, it's not about, I know as Canadians right now, we've heard many stories of Canadians leaving and like, gotta get out of here, like communism is encroaching and like all this stuff. And it's like, I respect what anyone has to do, because I'm not there to judge what someone felt they needed to do for their life path.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it is up to us to make that paradise on earth, instead of continuing to search for something, instead of just making it, because
exactly, it's about manifestation. Really, it is about manifestation, and I think that's what we've been held back from, our true ultimate I am. When they say save Israel for last, it's I am real. I is real. I is real, I am. So taking that infinite power and wisdom that we have to manifest new timelines is what we have to co-create right now. And that's why I think people who haven't necessarily jumped on the Queen Romana timeline can't understand how many humans are helping each other in those timelines. And that's the co-creation of New Earth, is helping one another, helping get a message across, helping people have an understanding and a calmness and a love and a place of, when you give a gift, it's there in the universe. And that's the energy flow. We're moving from the greed and anger and attachment that money is the root of all evil, to now the energy exchange of love. Excuse me. Every time I go to say something important, it's like, don't you dare say that.
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
Yeah.
But it's about actually manifesting that higher timeline where we just sit in, it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
That's old news. Let it go. Let it go.
And it could be fun. And I saw a question pop up there, like, basically, how do you pull yourself out of a rut? And it's counterintuitive to what we've been programmed with, I believe. But I try to remember, anytime I hit a wall with, like, within myself, where it's like there's an emotional schism of some kind, it's just like, accept that feeling, accept it without attaching to it. Just accept it, stop fighting it, don't judge it, just let it express itself, and like do some sort of small ritual with yourself with an affirmation declaration to cleanse and to thank it and to allow it to be cleansed from you. Because, yeah, there's no point in running away. There's nothing to run from,
No.
and there's nothing that can save
Forgive
you.
yourself.
Forgive.
Forgive yourself. Love yourself.
And the irony is that we are perfectly imperfect, and that in order to have unconditional love, you need to accept imperfection, which makes you perfect.
Yeah. That's right. Did you catch that? No, it's true. It is absolutely true. You need to accept the fact that people are people. We're all doing the best we can. And we are here on some level to raise that vibration of how we were expected to deal with things. And like, how do you deal with the programs of death? How do you deal with them? Like, we've been told, rage, drink, there's 7 levels to grief.
Or like you need to grieve for like 2 years.
Or
like,
some crap like that.
And I think of my son all the time, like when I'm going to bed, when I wake up, there's been definitely moments of sadness. But mostly I see him as a living being today.
Yeah.
So I'm not constantly going back to what was. I just keeps going. He's going.
Present.
He's here and he's present. And yeah, there is no real separation.
No, there is no separation. We're just here to learn the lessons of, just think of like our pineal glands as little drivers with our spiritual information and all of our life lessons before. And then we're like, okay, I'm going to choose you and Cash as my dad, and this is the story I have to tell for my next soul journey. So it's like a gathering of information on our spiritual DNA, and people have been attaching their spiritual DNA to the emotions and then either deflecting them and not dealing with them, which is spiritual bypassing. And a lot of people will spiritually bypass and not deal with it. Oh, I can't deal with that, and put it in a closet somewhere, and I don't want to talk about that right now. There's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to know about any of that stuff. And I gently force it. I'll say something that I know will trigger people because it needs to remove the fear. Because, again, nothing could be sadder in a 3D world than losing a physical form that you are so attached to, whether it's your best friend or your baby or what have you. And leaving that knowledge of why that suit was here with that suit and learning from that is the true gift we give humanity. Is the whole intention to our infinite life and our purpose here. So Solace brought so many people together around the globe, either through prayer, through meditation, through manifestation, through psychic stories, through timing, like,
and his ability to spread that love too that he received, because he did receive from so many people, many prayers. And he one of my, like, it was so hard for me to be objective. I was right there. I was with every step, and it was so intense. But I remember one of my friends saying to me, like, there was so much light that poured in on the day that he was given heart surgery from everywhere, from all of you people, from, from family, friends, from all of these people. For some reason, he summoned people. Like, I don't know, like, I've never felt so much attention on a story that I was a part of, but he ended up taking that light and spreading it around the 4 corners of that giant hospital in Edmonton. And, there's people that need a lot of love and a lot of light. And, they have, for whatever reason, have not necessarily been able to access that fully because of, we've created these dark matrix situations that our souls are already past. They're already evolved beyond that, but there's still these vestiges of this stuff that, that's entrapment. And I do feel like our son was a brave warrior, who kind of was just like, I can do this. I've got this.
Yeah.
I can be here in the middle of this battlefield.
Yeah.
And I'm okay.
And I can rock Donald Trump hair. Oh my gosh. Cash took the best picture of him and then did a screenshot with Donald Trump in the side. He totally looks like mini Donald Trump. Oh my goodness, it was so awesome.
Oh my god, so funny.
And like it was just like I don't know, he just keeps us always in spirit and check, and I think people who are grieving loss right now and having like, see if you can, here, hold it more this way, right towards, yeah, here, I'll hold it here. Let's see if you can see that. Look at that hairdo. Isn't that so cute? So adorable. Send me that picture. You keep forgetting to send it to me.
Okay.
But uh his vibration was always like, don't be sad, like don't be sad, don't be sad about anything. And I think about what I like, the song I was drawn to singing while mom and dad are getting ready to go to the hospital. I got to hold Solace, and my braid was in the other side, and I had my hair in his face, and he's like, that's the most cranky I ever saw him do that face. Like, get that out of my face, lady. I'm like, oh, sorry. So I started singing This Little Light of Mine. And then the next song I sang was Songbird, this little lullaby about a bird who sits and he sings on a branch in the forest. And he shares his song with the woodland wild. To all who would listen, he sings his song, and then he flies away. And I don't know where that song came from. It's been in my heart forever. And I'm like, this is what Bud Bud's telling us. He knows when it's time to fly in and out of. It's like a shape-shifting song. I had no idea, but I've been singing it to my kids and people I babysit. I call them people now because they're all adults, but people I babysat and stuff. So, and I think that makes it more of death as an illusion, you know? Death is an illusion because we will know when it's time to come in and out. And we chose to come into this on our soul contract. So some people can't carry out their soul contract to their fullest because of their free will stops them, right? So then they submit to whatever dark energy. So they got to start a new life form, just like anything else, because you only get so far in your video game if you haven't leveled up your spirituality. I really do believe that. You learn what you learn, and then when you go to be recreated and you meet your maker, meet God, creator, that you're the only judge of whether you learned your lessons or not. It's individual. It's up to nobody else's soul contract to say, because it's in our spiritual DNA. So, you know, so it's for up to nobody to judge what soul contracts or how long they should be here, or man, that energy has no place for anybody anymore, because it isn't believing that time is all, it's not linear, and it all exists past, present, future, right now. So if we're fully participating in that frequency of that, then Solace is right here, and we're going to see him in another physical form in the spiraling timeline. I'm looking forward to it, and that's what it's all about, is taking that transmutation of the 3D programs and then saying, okay, like, yeah, this part of my life, but first I didn't really get, but now the longer every day it goes on, it's like a deeper understanding of how powerful his story really is and how transformative. And that's why we wanted to share it with you. Like, I'm like, this is a very important video we need to talk about, because it's about maintaining peace and harmony despite whatever things we think are out there that are coming to creep up on us. And if we truly believe that the 99.9% of the bad people are all gone, then nothing but energetic, lovely light beings are coming forward, right? So these little star seeds that are born right now are here with intention and purpose, and to tell a story about why their soul contract is here, and to make us more aware. and to tap more into that love vibration, and just like it's okay to talk about whatever you need to talk about, because in the talking about it, you're surrendering that energy to love and knowing that it's all in the plan, like trusting the plan of what is laid out for us. Like,
Totally.
yeah, I do believe that. So, do you want to add anything? Thank you guys for hanging in with us
Yeah,
for an
it was
hour
a
and
long
10
one.
minutes.
Thank
No,
you.
but we're grateful. We're grateful.
We are grateful.
So,
to
and
share.
it's a heavy topic for a lot of people, but I think it's a necessary one, because we as light workers who have been seeing pictures of babies and tunnels and all of that stuff, we need to shed off those earthly vibrations of death is an illusion, you know, and stuff like that. So, yeah, we're very grateful to you for sticking with us so long.
Yes, thank you so much. I
So,
just appreciate you sharing in the story, and thank you.
I appreciate you sharing everything. I'm very grateful to meet you and Cash, and I know this is it. It had to be a mother video, I think, mother to mother having a chat. And it's not that we didn't want to include Cash. It's just a, you know, it's just a girl chat. You know, it's a sister chat. But thank you guys very much. Yeah, sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers. That's exactly right. And if you need to do that, that's groovy. That's an energy that's shared, you know. Caring is sharing. Sharing is caring. That's what I meant to say.
And that's, yeah, it's tough for people to be neutral when they know so much, or so they think, you know what I mean? So it's a constant reminder to be humble and just listen. Just try to listen to everybody and listen to the people that you thought you know so well, like your spouse or your sister or brother or whatever, and just listen, you know, just be totally present. So
yeah, and try and be accepting and understanding without attachment. Yeah, that's how we're gonna fix this vibration that of fear. Is just disrupt the absolute. Going back to the card reading, just said that. We had this disruption in death card before we started, and then the Lady of the Lake, and creative projects. So it's all about breaking down the illusion of what we thought death is, and the sadness and tragedy and all of that stuff. Like, and we hope we came and helped you make some understandings of, you know, where we're coming from, the highest of intentions of just peace and love on earth, and raising that vibration, and manifesting new timelines for everybody. So I'm so grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Raven.
I love you.
Love you too.
Okay, I love you guys.
Bye, everybody.
That was a great video.